Let's welcome Cantera to the Open Tech Talks podcast. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, if you can introduce yourself for our listeners, where are you based? What you do?
Um, I am in New York. I am the beachy part of New York, which I don't think people even realize exists. I live on Long Island, not in New York City, but close enough. And I am a consultant for underserved, small, local, female, minority, veteran-owned businesses, mostly here in New York. But I take clients from anywhere, anyone that will that needs me. I'm happy to help you. I don't care where you live, and I do a lot of workshops and a lot of small business training, and we build a lot of chat, a lot of voice, agentic systems, things like that, specific to small businesses. Very different from the enterprise background that I came from.
Okay. So, let's run through over the last 1 year with the agentic AI and AI.
hmm
Give us some scenarios, use cases with the small businesses. What have you done, or what you achieved?
Sure. Well, I'm privileged to be a part of the Agentics Foundation, which to me are the greatest minds I've found in the space. So I spent a lot
Okay.
of time learning from them. I think I deployed my first swarm like a year and a half ago with their help, and just really it's interesting because conversation designers were the first agent builders, right? We built chat agents, we built voice agents. And then once generative hit and agentic AI became a thing, all of a sudden there's all these, people pursuing agentic AI, and all the conversation designers are kind of kicking back, watching what they're posting and what they're teaching. And we're like, we've been doing this for years, guys. So it's interesting how little credit the conversation design community gets as far as their expertise in this agentic world. But swarms were different, multi-agent was different, and I feel very privileged to be really front and center to these things as they're being invented. So that's really interesting. And if you don't love change and you don't like to learn, this is probably a very tough period in time for you. And for small business versus enterprise, it's really interesting. Enterprise is making some strategic mistakes. I think we're all seeing that come to fruition in real time. Just Meta yesterday, right? With talking about how their agentic program isn't doing what they expect it to. But small business is very different. And what I love about it is they understand that they need their foundational layer of intelligence first. They themselves, as humans, need to be good AI operators, and I think they're better and at say it's I guess it's easier to say to 10, 15 people in a company, we're all going to learn this versus 100,000 people in a company, and getting that base good AI operator training, because I do strongly believe you have to be taught to be a good AI operator. And their problems are very much the same, but actually, still different. The messy inbox is everybody has that, right? Like being
Right.
able to get your inbox organized and have a cron job that regularly organizes and respond whatever it is you need it to do. That's something we can
Right.
easily and do for small or large businesses. But what I love about what I'm doing is every business I work with is completely different. I could be with an attorney today and a woman who owns 3 beauty salons tomorrow. I work with one client. She has a nonprofit, 2 gyms, and a team of personal trainer. And I think one of the most important things that we do for the small businesses is a deep assessment of what their actual problems are, right? AI is the hammer looking for a nail. We don't work like that. My company, we dig deep into what your actual problems are, and is I the best and only solution for those problems. And it really is as simple as that. What is the problem? Is the AI the right solution? If you don't start there and with foundational knowledge, you're going to have the mess like what we're seeing happen at enterprise with all their failures and all their agentic projects not having any ROI. It's because it's built on faulty foundations.
Okay. But how a small business knows that there are problems? Because they're just very small, right? And they're running their businesses, right?
Uh,
So even realizing it that okay, there is a problem, and even if I'm assuming myself a small business, I'm running my own inbox, everything. Even I don't know about agentic AI and what the crap that is going to bring to it.
yeah,
So the notion of knowing problem, how you take it up, and maybe give us some examples on that.
yeah. Well, I
And
mean,
it's just for the listeners who are listening to it, so that they can get some benefit out of it.
no, I totally get it. And I think that question right there is why a lot of small businesses are just like pretending AI isn't a thing. Like
Right.
they're kind of, I'm not ready for that. So one of the simple questions I ask is, what is the most important work you specifically do yourself? Right. And
Okay.
once I have that answer, the next question is, what part of your work takes you away from that? And the part of your work that
Mhm.
takes you away from that, if it's low risk, high volume, and repeatable, AI is a good solution for it. So
Mhm.
then we go deeper, depending on the size of the team, we go deeper into an assessment of, what technology you're using, what are some of the job titles of the people who work underneath you, and then we look at each one of them, what their same question, what's the most important part of your work, and what takes you away from it.
Okay. All right. So you asked a question. You got some work, okay, which is a process, all right, and it takes time. Then you identified that area that okay, this area is required something to do, right? And then what you do? Give us some examples.
Sure. So if they have a website that's old and not doing its job, if they're trying to book appointments through the website, we have to do an analysis of their current
Right.
tech.
True.
A lot of it, if they're heavy on phone users, there's a
Right.
lot we can do with voice agents. Voice agents are my bread and butter, outbound, inbound, after hours. There's no reason for a human to be answering your phone just to tell people your store hours or your address or think highly annoying, highly repeatable, low risk.
Right.
But then we also go into, very custom software just for them. Like that one person I was talking about, she has an army of personal trainers, a nonprofit, two gyms, and her work is everywhere. She's got an Airtable, she's got a Google Drive, she's got 4 email addresses. She's everywhere. And
Right.
her biggest problem is how much time she has to spend managing all that when she wants
Right.
to be with her clients. That's the kind of thing in this day and age we can really put something together custom just for you, your business, and change it as your business changes on a much more realistic timetable and a much more realistic budget than we were ever able to do previously. That was something that was very expensive, very time consuming, and very specific to bigger businesses. And now we can do those types of things for smaller businesses. And it really, really, it took so much time for her just to be able to put in the time with me to assess
Right.
because she didn't have the time to give. So she was stuck
Right.
in a loop of, I don't have time to fix this. I need to fix this. I can't fix this. I don't have time to fix. And the reason why you don't have time is because it's not fixed. So
Right.
once she finally said, that is it, I'm setting aside the time to go into this deep assessment. We went through all her tools, all the ways she was managing things. I mean, it's a small business, but it has complexities to have, an army of subcontractors, all these personal trainers, two separate, actual buildings that her gyms lived in, and a nonprofit, right? That it's
Right.
small, but that's complex. There's a lot of moving parts. And then keeping it, I mean, just one simple thing was making sure all her trainers always had their licenses, right? So she had to keep
Right.
track of when their licenses were issued, when they needed to, she had to create a system that she used to stay on top of them to make sure she was never subcontracting to someone who wasn't licensed. So like it was really complex, and we started with all the most basic things like managing all those inboxes and managing all their schedules. That is another thing. When you work with subcontractors, you're at the mercy of their availability. So once you gather their availability, you have to figure out what location they can work in, what days. So So much of her time was being wasted doing these things that the AI does for her in minutes now. Yeah.
Let's move from, as you mentioned, voice agents, inbox, outbound. So walk us through as there's a general perception that these technology components are quite expensive, right? So what tech stack you use, how you develop, you go through this one, and how feasible for that to use it.
Um,
Maybe you can narrate it what the way you want it.
yeah, yeah. So I did a post last week about running local LLMs and how to.
Okay. Okay.
Now, you have to remember, us tech people, we're in a bubble. So I go out
Right.
to these networking events for small
Right.
businesses here in New York. Sometimes I go 3 times a week, and I talk to
Okay.
everybody that will listen to me. And one of my main questions is, "Do you know what Claude is?" And not a lot of people know. They've heard of
Right.
ChatGPT. So, we're in this echo chamber. So when I say to you running local, you know what that means. And when I
Right.
post it, a lot of people know what it means or are learning what it means. Like they're using ChatGPT or they're paying for Claude and they don't know what running local means. So, I mean, the foundational knowledge is so important for everybody because if you're just chatting, right, and you're just
Right.
right, you can run local very easily. If you're in Claude Code and you're building, you can run Claude Code locally too, but it depends on what you're building and your model. And you have to teach these things. These aren't things that people just are going to know. But I think the piece about being in an echo chamber is really important because um, people inside tech don't realize that people outside tech have never even heard of Claude, let alone taking you know advanced Claude classes or whatever. So I think it's really important to talk about the echo chamber and then kind of go into saying there's a million small business out there, and the only thing they know about AI is like, that ChatGPT exists.
Right.
So there's a huge disconnect there between us and everybody else out there.
That's true. Okay. So one is okay, enablement, letting them know. Okay. But eventually they need to have a working solution,
Mhm.
right? So how you drive this towards a workable product for them,
So after
and
there yeah.
which is cheaper and sustainable for them.
Well, because I position myself as an ethical AI consultant, one of I give them sort of a menu of options, right?
Okay.
So if I offer a chat agent, a voice agent, a custom build, just a website rebuild, I give them options and then they could figure out what they need based on their budgets.
Right.
But one of the things that is really important is teaching them how to calculate ROI, right?
Okay.
So if they're paying, it really depends on the situation, but you have to show them, yes, this voice agent might be costing you 8 grand right now, you're going to make that money back in 6 months. And how do you teach that to them? How do you teach them to fish for themselves? Teach them how to figure out ROI
Okay.
for themselves. It's
Okay.
really important.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Okay. So what's your experience states over the last 2 years? How's the adoption? What are the common challenges?
What was the first part?
How is the adoption of these voice or AI agents from SME point of view? Are they
Mm,
adopting very quickly? Or are you facing challenges? What type of challenges which you are
Uh,
encountering with
well,
them?
my consultancy is new, 5 months.
Okay. Okay.
So, but I have implemented a few agents for people, and it's just like everywhere else, right? You implement it. You have to watch. You
Right.
have to find it, you fine tune and iterate over a little bit of time to get it to where it needs to be. I noticed this in enterprise too. They'll put a chatbot out in the world and it's awful, and they set it and they
Right.
forget it. And then they wonder, why isn't it working? And it's like, well, these things are not set and forget. If you're an enterprise company and you put a chatbot out there, you need to monitor what's going right, what's going wrong, and keep tuning and tuning and tuning. And it's actually a little bit less so with smaller businesses because it's not getting the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands people running through it. and it's just smaller, so it makes it a little bit easier in some ways. But either way, none of this stuff is set and forget. Period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's clear. Now, when you work with, and you already pointed out that one with different small business owners, there is a challenge on the awareness that, okay, what these AI tools different can do it. Now, it is in spite of all these challenges over the last 6 months, what were the common use case which you worked on it, and those proves that yes, there is a tangible ROI,
I think it's time back in their pockets is the most obvious ROI, right? Because it's
right?
affecting them in their lives, right?
Right,
Especially if you're an owner like the one I keep referring to who is working 80 hours a week. And if you work an
right,
80-hour work week, 5 hours of your life back is huge, right? 10
right,
hours is life changing. So I think that's the most obvious non financial metric is
right,
feeling that time back in your life. And some people that is, and I think it should be as important as a financial metric. But a lot of it is just, I hate to say the term, but grunt work, right? Like, oh, I did X outreach. Keeping track of who responded is so hard, like in Gmail, right? Like it's just
right,
so, so it's sometimes it's one or two big things, and sometimes it's an accumulation of small things, but it's different
right,
from the business. But there is the time factor, and there's the financial factor. So when you're talking about ROI, you have to create a metric for both, right? And
right,
one of them you can sort of see, right, in your bank account, and another one you can kind of feel in your life. And it's really important to address both, because it's not, this woman was so bogged down. Like she was just exhausted, and it was just so much work. And she had help, but it was just a matter of her. If she would have had somebody from the beginning kind of figure out her tech with her, instead of her piecing it all together doing the best she could, she probably would never have gotten to that place in the first place. So my advice is get somebody who knows what they're doing to help you early, because you'll need to spend less time with them. It'll be cheaper for you, and I'm always about foundations. You'll build a better foundation. So if you're early in your business and you're wondering if it's worth the money, it is, because that ROI is the implications for years to follow is not easy to track, but it's really important.
right. And do you have a team, someone actually who does the hands-on work, is building some voice agent or different technology component, or how do you drive
Yeah.
it?
Well, I'm blessed to have an army of subcontractors who are the
Okay,
best there. Yeah. And it allows me to stay a solopreneur, which
right.
has advantages, but I'm just lucky I have access to the friends and the developers that I have access to, because they are some of the best.
Okay, okay. So if you want to leave some messages for the two community set of communities, I think one is, okay, if someone is listening and who's or she's running their own businesses, what are the top, I think, three things they should be doing it? Okay,
Get get your foundational knowledge about AI. Be a good AI operator. Find trusted sources, right? Social LinkedIn, social filled with grifters, filled with fake expert. Find real experts to listen to and get started early. Get help early. Don't try and I always say in my ads, it literally says, do not DIY your AI. Get somebody to help you early. It will save you money for years to come.
okay. And for someone who is very new and he well, this is linked to the second point that you need to educate yourself.
Mhm.
So what is the best way? Any because there are a lot of courses. Because when you say educate, then the question comes, okay, I need to go and attend some courses. So what have you observed it?
So it depends on your budget. So when people come to me with this, I'm like, well, what's your budget? Because we can
Right,
easily go over to Maven and spend 4 grand on a class, or
right,
we can spend nothing and just use common sense. One of the people who's taught me the most is this man named Reuven Cohen, who his LinkedIn, I always tell people he is 2 years ahead of everybody. His LinkedIn has taught me more than any book, any class, anybody else. But one of the things is to, if you find one trusted source, ask him who
Right.
their trusted sources are, right?
Right.
And de-grift your social feeds. Unfollow, block anybody who says comment X for Y. Get them out of there. They're grifters. Find good, solid people who actually work in the space and use social media to teach. That's one. You can use YouTube, but one of the best ones, especially now, is you can use any AI to teach you AI. You can teach
Right.
Claude teach you Claude, ChatGPT can teach you ChatGPT. But being a good AI operator, you need to understand how to make sure you're not believing hallucinations, how to ask for resources that prove what it's saying is true, be really careful when you're talking about high risk situations. Ask for web links if you're not sure. I think I don't use Gemini often, but I think Gemini offers web links at the bottom now as to where it sourced its responses from. And one of my biggest things is to use AI as a extractor of your own knowledge, right? So you can don't just say, write me an article about whatever it is your business does. Write me an article
Right.
on smart ways to save money at the grocery store. No, that's not your knowledge. That's generated knowledge. But if you say, I want to write an article about the best ways to save money at the grocery store, interview me with 30 questions and then take my responses and turn it into an article, that's you.
Right.
And, and that's what when I talk about being a good AI operator, there are definitely certain categories that you need to be highly aware of to make yourself a good AI operator. And it's finding trusted sources, using your own voice, don't generate slop, security, how to use documents, how to create skills. And I think the biggest thing is go easy on yourself and just learn a little bit every day. You're not, I've been doing this 7 days a week for 4.5 years. The if you put so much pressure on yourself that you don't do it,
Right.
you're not do it. So find that balance, and you'll find me.
Right.
I say that a lot. Balance in
True.
everything.
True. Thank you for this. And the last question before we close for today: are people open for AI?
It's interesting. Depends on their age, their situation, and their location. It's
Okay.
very different. Gen Z hates AI until they need it.
Okay.
It you know, it's a wild question because it is very different from person to person. In
Oh.
New York City, everybody's aware. There's billboards everywhere. San Francisco, billboards everybody's highly aware, right? Middle of Ohio, not so much, So it really depends on where you are,
Right.
how much time you spend online, your social algorithm, right? Are you being fed this? And is what you're being fed truthful, or is it, media kind of skewing the story a little bit? But my advice is learn foundations, because if you don't, it's going to impede your safety, your security, your ability to get to work. It's going to get in your way. And you can learn all those base foundations in one or two conversations. At least you can understand what those fundamentals you need to learn are in one or two
Right.
conversations and ask, okay, well, teach me about this and then teach me about that. So learn what the fundamentals are and then learn each one individually.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone, if someone want to reach out to you, what's the best medium?
Um, LinkedIn. I am the only Ann Cantera on LinkedIn. I have a website that teaches AI for free called voiceofai.io. It's kind of my love letter to the design community. It has 17 modules on all the things we need to learn past traditional UI design. And my business is Elementyl, Elementyl Intelligence. Dot AI or .com, but it's Elementyl. And yeah, that's it. Those are the three places where I always am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Mhm. Thank you for having me. It was really nice chatting.